Welcome, everybody. It's your boy, the Versace Stoner, with another episode of VSW. Thank you. And we're here tonight with the Sable Wolf of part 2 of our AEW Revolution recap.
The Sable Wolf here, and ready to hear for the botch heard around the world. Quite an explosive, pun intended.
But first, we'll go off with the Face of the Revolution match. We also have the Darby Allin match, and then we will have the final match. And we'll go over a little bit of what we think, AEW will go from here. And and our final thoughts.
All right, so the participants in the Face of the Revolution ladder match to earn a title opportunity against Darby Allin this Wednesday on Dynamite, which is the inaugural TNT champ himself, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes versus Penta El Zero Miedo, for part of the Lucha Bros and Death Triangle. And you got Scorpio Sky of SCU, maybe he's branching his way out of it. And you got the Murder Hawk Monster, Lance Archer, versus Max Caster of the Acclaimed, who's starting to show reminiscence of Ruthless Aggression John Cena. And you got the surprise entrant, former Impact star Ethan Page.
I wasn't too thrilled at first with Ethan Page. It was a surprise for sure. We didn't really know what we were going to get.
But he wasn't meant to have a real chance of winning in this match, as I think this match was really to showcase Lance Archer and Penta without them winning.
Well, I think Lance Archer's been showcased, since he started. He had squash matches, in cinematic format. You got already the hype with Jake Roberts. You got all these people behind him. Lance Archer is, a beast.
He's came a long way since he was Vance Archer in the WWE ECW era.
Oh, yeah.
And he's more jacked than ever before.
He's ripped. And, between him and, he's one of my favorite AEW wrestlers. And another one of them is, we'll see him in the next matchup, Brian Cage. But, Lance Archer was actually my pick to win this thing.
He was mine, too. I really thought he was going to win because him versus Darby Allin would have been a good match.
That would have been a great match.
But look, let's talk about the brass ring. It looked like a Sonic the Hedgehog ring currency.
Yeah, it did. It really reminded me of playing Sega Genesis. And I think the internet found it to be quite the same thing, as I saw a lot of memes being posted. Sonic hit this and the ring that. I don't know what it symbolized. They really didn't explain it. They could have put it's for the title shot.
Yeah.
That's going to happen is it this Wednesday? Yeah, this was the one that's going to happen this Wednesday on Dynamite.
I knew, even though he was technically the odds favorite in this match, which he stated all week, he's never won a ladder match in his life, Cody Rhodes. He got injured during the ladder match, was selling, and then he came back in. I kind of knew he wasn't going to, because we already seen him versus Darby Allin as much as we have the Young Bucks versus Lucha Bros in AEW. So
we have, and, we don't really need it. I don't think he needs another title run.
He's already a two-time TNT champion.
He doesn't really need another title run.
I don't think, I'd love to see him be world title, but he's keeping his words all the way at Full Gear a year ago to Chris Jericho, when he said he would never compete for the AEW World Championship again.
And he won't, and I don't think he will, and, he's a man of his word.
Definitely is.
But that doesn't mean that he won't also capture at some point the tag titles. Him and his brother could capture the tag titles. Eventually, someday, or him and somebody else. There's so many ways he could go.
Yeah, he can always fall back in the middle of the Elite feud.
There's that too. So, I mean, really, he's the man of a million directions in AEW if he wants it. He could go heel. He could go face. Cody could go anywhere he wants.
Cody is really good at making titles relevant, as he rechristened the Intercontinental title years ago in the beginning of the PG era.
Well, he comes from a wrestling family. He's watched, his father was one of the greatest WCW bookers.
How ironic he helped invent NXT and was a foundation for AEW with Cody's basically helping Tony Khan run the company, starting the wrestling is in their blood.
It is. His father helped start WCW and work on some of the greatest matches, like the Stampede match and other matches. And, you have his other brother, Dustin. He spent most of his career as Goldust, unfortunately, I think, for him.
Vince loved the polka dots on the Rhodes family, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He did. And he owns that name. Well, he did own the name Rhodes. I think he finally dropped the ownership of it. But he was getting royalties for a while off even Cody Rhodes in AEW.
Yeah, but how Cody got injured was by Penta hitting Rhodes with one of the destroyers that landed Cody's shoulder in the ring apron, which had to have Arn Anderson check on him in the back. So Cody was out for the match for a little bit. But I feel like this match really showcased Lance Archer.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Jake the Snake, too, hitting Penta, gone with a finisher.
Yep. Yeah, it did.
But then Pentagon got his revenge on him. Or, I'm sorry, El Penta now, because he can't use that name. But let's not forget, my highlights of this was, I'm surprised he got away with it and no one's talking about it, is one half of this new tag team, The Acclaim. Max Caster did a rap on cancel culture and the political stuff. Like, I was laughing very hard.
In the beginning, yes, he did. He mentioned a few things about, kind of current events, and they were kind of funny.
Very true. He's been doing a lot of it. The Acclaim that's been doing a lot of it. Turns out they were heels insulting the crowd during the pandemic, insulting their opponents, but kind of like what Dr. Thugonomics John Cena did in the Ruthless Aggression era days.
Yeah.
He didn't really showcase too much of his talent during the ladder match, but that was a real pop to wake the crowd up, I think.
No, it was, and it did. It got us into it.
With the boom, with Jack Evans or Angelico, one of the Hybrid 2, bringing him the boombox. And he got attacked. That was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, that was. It had its moments. The whole match had quite a moment, and it actually did better than I thought it was going to be.
I thought it was going to be the opener, but I'm glad it didn't.
No, it was at the right spot. It was at the right spot.
Yeah. And I know we talked about Ethan Page. Everyone's happy to see him debut, but I'm glad I didn't see him win it. I'm very happy with the pick of Scorpio Sky, because he's been able to showcase from the SCU image, which Kazarian and Christopher Daniels, veterans as they are, appeared in the Battle Royal earlier. What do you think he has a shot to beat Darby this Wednesday?
I do. I think Kazarian and the other one, they're going to retire soon. I think they're getting older. They're going to stop wrestling soon. I think they're going to manage.
I think they do a lot of backstage work with AEW.
They do, but I think they're going to take a role on as managing Scorpio Sky. And really, I think he is going to, and he might even beat Darby Allin for this title and take it to the next level and make it even more relevant.
That's what I think, too. Because Darby, we'll talk about the cinematic match next, but
Darby's a great champion. You can't take nothing away from Darby. He's super over. He's great with the fans. He's in a tremendous wrestler. He does amazing spots. He's a hardcore wrestler. He's a regular wrestler.
He's an avid skateboarder too.
Yeah, he's a very good skateboarder, but he's just an overall superstar talent that would probably be on 205 Live.
He even said it himself. I signed with AEW. What would I be on the show no one watches?
Exactly,
When's the last time anyone besides you for August Gray watched 205 Live?
I don't know. I don't even think anybody knows when it's on. I only know because I follow wrestlers that are on there and they post that they're on. If they didn't do that, I wouldn't even know when it was on. I wouldn't even watch it.
Now to get back on topic, what would you grade this ladder match? I would grade it 3.75.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a 3.5 on this.
It could have showcased more than just... They could have added two more competitors.
I would have liked to see Ethan Page do a little bit more since they're kind of hyped the special guest person.
I really wish they added Joey Janela to this match.
Joey Janela is the forgotten son of AEW. I don't see him anywhere but Dark maybe. And even then, barely. You know, we saw a killer match at Boston, you know, after the show.
First ever Dark main event?
Yeah,
it was.
The second ever. Yeah, but it was...
Probably the best Dark match of... AEW Dark match of all time.
I would give it that, you know, and we saw John Moxley take on Joey Janela. And they gave a hell of a freaking match.
Kenny Omega faced Joey Janela in an unsanctioned match.
Yeah.
In the show we were at, but we haven't really seen much of him, but we will move on to the cinematic match.
Well, you know, let's talk about the signing first.
Okay, well, my bad, folks. We'll talk about the signing. Everyone was freaking out. You kind of forgot the whole match card for a few days ever since
everybody was speculating. You had people talking about Brock Lesnar, John Cena, CM Punk. His name's always brought up. Batista. I saw Ryback. I saw even people talking Shane McMahon. Maybe Vinnie Mac himself.
That'd be hilarious. Anything could have happened.
Anything could have happened. The internet kind of just threw everybody's name out there.
I legit thought it was going to be Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle threw a promo in the middle of it all, you know, showcasing maybe a possible comeback. Lacing up boots.
It shows him very ripped compared to when he last wrestled with WWE.
Yeah, that last match against Baron Corbin, you know, he really didn't look too good, but, you know, he looked a lot better shape now. You know, he kind of threw that out in the middle of it. And so you had that, you know, the internet speculated, and nobody really knew anything. You saw...
That's what I love about
days
AEW.
and days, you saw just speculation, but nobody had an inside note. Nobody had any breaking news. There was no leak. There was nothing.
So we're not used to that because everything in WWE gets leaked so easily.
You'll find out who wins Mania before Mania happens sometimes. And, you know, it's on the sad, unfortunate state of the internet, wrestling, and just how things work now. But AEW does a great job keeping shit under wraps when they sign somebody new, when they bring somebody in. What they're going to do, and you know...
What's going to main event their next... You don't know what's going to happen in Double or Nothing right now.
Have no idea what Dawn is going to be, but, you know, people knew what was going to happen at WrestleMania come Royal Rumble. So, you got to look at this. They really make us wait to the edge. They make us watch Wednesday nights to see where things are going to lead. You can't just kind of sit back and speculate, because it's always changing. And that's what they did to us last night. We really didn't know who it was going to be.
It wasn't even Paul Wright coming out. It was just the contract was in the middle of the ring.
You know, it was a little bit underwhelming just because I think the internet hyped it up so much.
Way too much.
But it was very exciting at the same time.
Especially when you saw Christian, who was Christian Cage's newly signed AEW. Congratulations to him. Even though he was just in a surprise entrance in the Royal Rumble, hugging Edge, helping Edge out.
And that was really the surprise. You know, you just saw him as a surprise entry in the Royal Rumble. You know, people were actually saying maybe him and Edge versus Roman Reigns and Jey Uso at the upcoming Fastlane pay-per-view.
I know.
You had all these people talking about, you know, what's Christian's WWE involvement, what's he going to do. He looks great for, you know, the comeback. He's ready to go.
He isn't. People tend to forget Christian was phenomenal as a main eventer, as a babyface in TNA.
A lot of people forget his TNA run. You know, they just associate him with... Unfortunately, he gets associated right off the bat with Edge. And it goes right into WWE. You know, I remember when he first came in with Gangrel, and they brought him into the Brood, and they brought in Christian, and at first they were against Edge. Edge was an enemy of Gangrel and, you know, Christian. They fought each other. Then they all joined up, and it was just...
Oh, we knew the rest of the story, didn't we?
Well, yeah. And, you know, but yeah, they do forget about his TNA run. And he did have a great TNA run. So, I mean, it's only fitting that he is with, you know, AEW kind of partnering with TNA, New Japan. It is fitting that they signed Christian. He is Hall of Fame worthy. He is one hell of a worker.
He is a former Mildcard IC champ. I remember he could always have that rematch of WrestleMania 20 with Chris Jericho, which will bring the best out of each other. Christian was a world champ before he got injured that he couldn't wrestle full time anymore. His big thing was getting screwed out of the title. And boy, will he get one more match, which he always wanted.
Yep.
And he'll get plenty in Dynamite.
Sure will. He sure will. He will get as many matches as he wants in Dynamite. I heard he signed a 2-year contract.
I know. That's phenomenal. He still has gas left in the tank. He doesn't even look his age.
Oh yeah, he's gonna kill it.
And I'm glad to see him step out of Edge's shadow.
This will really showcase him singly again. He'll be out of Edge's, you know, shadow, like you said, and he'll be able to just do his own thing.
And all us peeps, all us peeps will be watching his every move.
Oh yeah, we will. And
are you happy with this, or did you wish it was someone else?
I really don't know. I mean, did I want to see a Lesnar kind of person be signed? Yeah, in a way, I wanted to kind of see somebody huge be signed, to see the internet kind of just slowly melt down.
Oh, I wish it was Cena just to see the explosion of the internet.
It would have been more explosive than the main event. But anyways, I have to say this, okay? I'm happy that Christian is there. It was a good call. If we shut the internet off for 2 weeks, you know, before the announcement or a week before the announcement and just watched it at face value, I think we would have been very excited. I think, like I said, the internet dumbed us down, and, you know, throwing out huge names and huge expectations that we just, you know, assumed it was going to be this huge deal. And we forget, Christian is actually a huge deal. He's just not a current huge deal.
Which I agree with this, because I want CM Punk to debut in AEW. I know everyone wants him to come back. And we kept thinking every time Raw's in Chicago, he was going to come back to WWE every year and All Out, even when it was just All In. You'd think CM Punk's going to debut, but we got to be smart and wait for the world to get better. I'd rather have CM Punk debut and All Out if it's in Chicago when there's fans back.
Oh, yeah, you want to see full capacity fans for something like that.
Same as Lesnar.
Oh, when Lesnar makes his return and so forth. If he was wherever he goes, when he comes back to WWE, if he does that, or, you know, if he goes to somewhere else, AEW, UFC, wherever the hell he goes, you want to see it with full fans. You want to see everything with full fans. A lot of champions were robbed of their moments during this pandemic without fans. A lot of wrestlers were robbed of their moments during this pandemic without fans.
It's affecting so many AEW wrestlers right now.
It really has. Really, really has. But everybody keeps doing their thing. Everybody keeps fighting for it. Everybody keeps showcasing themselves. And, you know, everybody's done a hell of a good job. We've all been entertained through this pandemic, between, you know, from the littlest indie shows to, you know, WrestleManias. We've been pretty entertained with what they've given us during the pandemic, I have to say.
I hope we go back to a time where it's as big as the Golden Era, the Attitude Era, but hopefully when the world gets better, we're in for a big boom in the wrestling industry.
Oh, we are for sure.
So, next things first, let's talk about the hype tag team match between representing Team Taz, Ricky Jarvis, and Brian Cage versus Sting's AEW debut match, and Darby Allin in what was a cinematic match, which was ironically directed by Darby.
You know, this was probably for me, my match of the night. I really love this match. I'm giving it 5 stars right off the bat. I'm going to tell you that.
I thought it was the best match of the whole night, and I didn't think it'd be a cinematic match, but it fits well because Sting almost injured his neck against Seth Rollins, which ended his career and any hopes of the Undertaker-Sting dream match we all wanted.
Oh, yeah, and, but the cinematic, it was done beautifully. It had commentary, which is different than what WWE does with their cinematic matches all right off the bat. It was sped up a little bit, so it was almost like hyper-reality. These guys were throwing each other around. At one point, they were running up the wall. It wasn't done in a regular wrestling ring, but neither was it done on the streets. It was done like in an abandoned warehouse.
It looked like it was part of a combination of a shooting video game and a thriller action movie at once.
It did, and it had that big action feel, and it was just amazing for me. I think Sting did a great job. Brian Cage was a great performer in this. He's a monster anyways, one of my favorite. He is jacked. He comes out and it's just, whatever he does is explosive. And I was fucking pumped to see him just ripping shit apart. You had Darby Allin just doing some of the craziest stunts. And he could do, anything he wanted because it was cinematic. It was just...
And you had Will Hobbs came help Team Taz, and you basically use Ring Around the Rosie with Brian Cage to swing Darby Allin into glass.
That was just an insane move.
Insane.
That was just insane. And then that death drop by Darby Allin at the end.
To Brian Cage, which looked like it went through 5 stories. We didn't even see them after that.
No, it was done. He went right through the floorboards, down through some basement, down through something else. He just kept going down. And we never saw them again. And, that was just insane. That was insane. I popped for that one.
I thought Taz did a great job being a biased commentator. It was entertaining.
And, the whole match was entertaining from beginning to end. Just when they showed up in the fast sports car to the end of that match, Darby Allin and Sting taking the victory with it. But nothing against Brian Cage and him. They gave it was just an all-around great performance. And seeing Sting in this way, I didn't mind seeing him. It wasn't an old Sting in the ring trying to do spots that he could do 20 years ago, flipping over and trying to break a hip and not be able to even body slam. You got to see Sting move around. You got to see him wrestle. You got, I know it's cinematic, but you got to see him do
And
things.
You got to see Darby flip his baseball bat to him, which was pretty cool.
That was an unbelievable moment when he had the bat in hand and he just went to town, swings away. Again, that was my favorite match of the night.
It was easily a 5-star match.
5-star match, and
especially getting the best out of Sting, which you wouldn't have in a regular match anymore.
No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't see it. You wouldn't get it out of him.
He had the Scorpion death drop to pin Ricky Jarvis to end the match, which I thought he did pretty well, unlike his counterpart Goldberg, who can botch the jackhammer when he wrestled.
Yeah, like that Saudi show when he faced The Undertaker, that was just a sad display. And I didn't want it to be like that for Sting. And I'm glad they went in with this route, and it was good. It worked.
I thought it was the right call having Sting and Darby winning. Do you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. You knew they were going to when I saw Darby doing that death jump, but it was the right call to put them over, and it was just an overall, it builds up. And nothing, like I said, Team Taz is still thriving.
Very true. They didn't need to win it, but the whole point of Sting being there is to build Darby out and build the relevance of a TNT title, similar to how the Intercontinental title was used in the early 90s.
Exactly, and really drive it in as that secondary title that it's, just as important for that mid-card to come out and, defend his title as is for that world champion. You kind of lose that in WWE today with all these titles and, double mid-cards. You'll have Intercontinental titles on a pre-show. You'll have tag team titles, thrown in wherever. There's no relevancy in their titles. And I think that's what exactly they're trying to do, is build that title up with such prestige, such honor. Will Scorpio Sky win this week? Maybe, Like I said, he could take it to the next level. But if Darby, successfully defends, he'll take it to the next level himself.
Do you think it's possible that Darby and Sting, I kept thinking if they had lost, that was one of them going to turn on each other?
I mean, it is a possibility there. We also might eventually get a Brian Cage versus Darby Allin straight for the title.
Which we have seen plenty of times, but I would like to see Darby defend the TNT title against... I would love to see MJF take it, or Sammy Guevara, but Lance Archer is someone I'd like to see. I wouldn't mind seeing him drop it to Scorpio Sky.
I mean, eventually it will happen with Scorpio Sky, I think. I mean, he's the next in line, probably. He's talent. He looked good in that ladder match, like we said. And still, Team Taz can go anywhere. They could eventually go after the tag titles themselves. They can really do it. I think it's a great asset having Taz part of the commentary back and forth. He was great when he was doing it before. He was great when he wrestled, but, that was cut a little short. And from then he went to commentary. And, being a manager, and it brings back a little bit of nostalgia and just kind of like, some old vibes. It's really good. I enjoy it. And I definitely, again, I would give that star a 5-star.
There's no doubt the match of the night, but it's preceding what our next would. We've been hyped up for weeks since the announcement. The exploding barbed wire death match, which led to the botch heard around the world.
Haven't seen one of these in 20-something years, said Tony Schiavone. And you really didn't, And going into this match, everybody was hyped. First of all, you got Kenny fucking Omega versus John Moxley.
Both guys out of their fucking minds.
We wanted to see it. We've been loving their matches, since Moxley threw Kenny off the stack of, poker chips at that first event that year when he first debuted. We just knew it would be something special. And this feud has been that. And this is where it took us. It took us to a barbed wire death match. Something you see in Japan.
Not even. It's one of these matches when no one's really heard of before.
No, not really. I mean, unless you're a real hardcore wrestling fan and you watched it back in the early 90s, late 90s, you don't see this much. It's not allowed in the U.S. In the U.S., I think there's only one state that allows death matches, and that's Jersey. That's why GCW's out there. You don't really see this death matches around the states. Foreign countries, yeah. U.S., no. So this was big, and, there was a lot of hype going into this match. Obviously, Omega now with Don Callis, since that
taking over Impact,
doing all this, what he's doing. And you got Moxley wanting his title back.
And you've got partners of the Good Brothers assisting Omega in the past few weeks.
That brings back, a little Bullet Club from the Bullet Club era days. And, it was a great match, okay? They wrestled well. And it was very exciting. The explosions during the match were great. When you went up against, there was a 3-sided ring. 3 of the sides had barbed wire, and if you hit it, you exploded. Outside, there was a little area with a couple barbed wire, looked like springs on there, and if you hit that exploded. And, they exploded a few times. Moxley was bleeding profusely from his face.
It looked like a one-way fight with Omega having the upper hand.
Oh, in the beginning, it definitely did, He was destroying him. But,
they both want to destroy each other. They could fight this every week at the fans.
But it had a 30-minute, well, not really a time limit. It had a 30-minute limit to when the ring was supposedly going to explode. All the bombs were going off within that 30-minute time period when that clock ran. No matter if the match was over, nobody won. Everybody needs to get out of there. That bomb was going off. And it did, but we'll get into that, and the match was good, though.
It did all right.
They fought, and they fought.
And then Moxley freaking doing his DDT onto the barbed wire spring, which Kenny was starting to bleed all the way in the body, but I thought Moxley bleed way more in his face the whole match.
He did. He was covered in blood. He really cut himself good. And, you could see them digging that barbed wire out of their skin.
I'm surprised
it goes right through the clothes.
I'm surprised Renee Young's baby water didn't break last night.
Yeah, she could have with all that excitement. Seeing, Moxley being tossed around through such dangerous, situations and circumstance. But, they both know, they're both professional. They know how to handle this, and they did a great job with the match. They really did. And it was one of those things where,
it was a really awesome match.
I didn't know if Moxley was going to grab the title at one more time. I really didn't. I was hoping not. I do like Kenny Omega as a heel, and I do like Kenny Omega as champion, but...
And it's the story is getting better and better with Omega and the Good Brothers. Are they going to turn on the Young Bucks?
What's going to happen with that? Oh, will the Young Bucks turn on the world and everybody become heel? And will that happen when they lose the titles, or will they lose the titles? What will happen? Will all the elite will the club at that point have the gold? What will happen?
One of the best parts of the match was when Kenny hit his signature one-winged angel, right? And right when he pinned Moxley didn't kick out. So no one still ever kicked out of the one-winged angel. Still to this day. But Moxley used his feet to trigger the explosives.
Oh, that was a good spot there. And, and you can see him that's why I think the turning point happened. And, it blinded Kenny Omega for a minute. He couldn't see, couldn't do much. And Moxley could get back to his feet. And I think that's when Moxley started to really give the punishment to Kenny Omega. But that was smart. And that was smart to do that. That saves face for Kenny.
Yeah.
It saves face for Moxley. And it was a great explosion. That was a good explosion, actually. And like I said, there was nothing wrong with those ring explosions when they were thrown against the barbed wire side. It looked great. I really was impressed with this match the whole time.
I did too. I thought it was a phenomenal match. It was on par with their unsanctioned match in Full Gear a year and a half ago.
It was right up there with it. And, Kenny Omega taking the victory at the end. That was fine. You had the help of the Good Brothers.
And you had Jon Moxley handcuffed.
You handcuffed Jon Moxley to the ring, and all of a sudden, we started just before that. We started to hear the countdown about 10 minutes or so that this bomb would go off. The match was over now at this point. Kenny Omega had won. They tied him up. They locked him up, and they left. And they left him in there just to explode.
And out comes Butcher, Blade, the Bunny, Allie, and Eddie Kingston.
Everybody trying to come out to try to help him, and, they just stopped him. There was a big brawl. Everybody's brawling. This time is ticking. And Eddie Kingston, he does the unthinkable. He runs into the ring, tries his best to get those handcuffs and, save Jon Moxley. But when he realizes he can't, he shields himself. He shields Jon Moxley from the explosion that's about to occur. And, oh my God, the clock hits 0. And what happens but a pop, fucking fizzle, and 4 little sparklers get lit off.
Just like little kids do on the 4th of July.
It was the biggest fucking letdown of the night.
People love AEW. Loyal were crapping on it. It ruined the whole card, which I don't think should have. Of course they botched it. There was no excuse for that. I get it, but these guys work their asses off. They fucking bleed for us, Moxley and Omega. This would have been talked about all day if it wasn't for that botch.
The botch was a real disaster. It was a shit show. I had to laugh a little bit at it.
Me too.
I don't know what went wrong. I don't know if there wasn't enough pyrotechnics in there. If it just wasn't set up right. If that's how it was meant to be. Obviously no one's supposed to be hurt, so you have to be safe. I understand all of that. It wasn't a botch with the wrestling itself. The wrestling was already over. It was great. You know, people asking on Twitter, why was Eddie Kingston selling this? Why was he selling it so hard? Well, I mean, that's his job, is to sell it. No matter what the fuck is happening around the ring, his job is to sell it. If something botches, you got to go with it. And, you know, for him just to stay in his position, do what he was doing, no matter if the explosion was big, small, whatever it was, he already knew it was fucked up when he obviously looked around or if he saw it.
That was one hell of a face turn.
It was a hell of a face turn, and people forget that, you know, this botch shadowed that, you know, but he did the right thing, and he really stuck with it the whole time, and he stayed covered. So, I mean, yeah, I understand everybody is pissed about this. I understand it really ruined the night for a lot of people, but
I don't think what helps anything is the fact that this pay-per-view was on a Sunday because of the UFC pay-per-view.
Yeah, it was, and I mean, that made it a little bit different, and that, you know, Dawn being on a Sunday is really not going to help things either. But yeah, you can't really let that take away from the pay-per-view because it happened after the wrestling was over. If this was the ending of the match that happened that botched it, the wrestling finisher or something related to that, then I would say, you know, that's shame on them. This is a technical error. I don't know if they can really be accountable. I mean, yes, to some degree, but not to the degree that Twitter is holding them. I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they are, maybe they're not.
I don't think it's right of what the Twitter universe reacting like that for. Because I think if they paid WWE Network price for it, the outrage wouldn't be.
Oh, that's the thing. We all paid $50 for a pay-per-view.
On a Sunday night.
On a Sunday night, and this is what we got, and that ending, and that's how it ended. I believe it should have ended. They should have just let the clock count hit down to 0. We should have blacked out the screen. Should have just ended it and let us find out what happens Wednesday night. They could have did a cinematic ending. We've already seen what they did with that Darby Allin show. They could have done many different things with it.
There's a lot of good matches got overshadowed by that.
I think everybody at that point was just like, screw AEW, screw this card. This was the worst pay-per-view. You know, kind of like what happened with Hell in the Cell when that whole Seth Rollins versus The Fiend match happened.
Or the Saudi event with The Fiend getting squashed by Goldberg.
Yeah, you know, these kind of matches overshadow a whole pay-per-view, and it kind of sucks for the promoter. It sucks for the wrestlers. It sucks for them all. You know, I saw AEW was deleting negative comments and negative video posts about this. I don't think that's fair either. I mean, you got to be able to take the criticism, but at the same time, I
understand why a lot of these guys are upset at the same time.
Exactly. I paid $50. I was a little bummed. I'm not going to cry about it. It's wrestling, you know.
I still thought it was better than All Out with all the wrestling botches that happened.
Exactly. I would rather take a technical botch over a wrestling botch any day.
Yeah.
And the wrestling in that match was on point, so I'm not going to take anything away from that.
But what if something bad really happened to Jon Moxley or Eddie Kingston where they lost their hearing, or worse, potentially have some kind of death, and they would have been outraged then too. So,
I mean, you could have had something happen similar to Owen Hart, where an accident happened and somebody got, you know, somebody passed away. And then what would the fans have said? You know, then it would have been the opposite. You went too far, you went reckless, you went crazy, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You really can't win with the fans. Even if they did a great explosion, there still would have been those fans that would have said you went too far. So no matter what, there's no way to really win. I think they did what they had to do. I think it was supposed to be bigger than that, but I don't think it was supposed to be this big nuclear explosion either. You know, you've got to worry about the safety of the wrestlers in the ring. And
Tony Khan has done a phenomenal job.
Tony Khan is number one for that. He keeps his talent safety as number one importance.
He doesn't
and their
have
happiness.
You don't see the Young Bucks or Cody main event every Dynamite.
No, you don't. So, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with this. I don't know where Kenny's going to go next. I don't, you know.
What's going to happen to Moxley? Is he going to get written off TV to be with his wife, you think?
Probably. I mean, I don't know. Where does Kenny Kingston go? Does he get a title shot next? I mean, who's going to get all this stuff?
I legit thought that if Kenny retains against Jon Moxley, which he did, that they were going to build Hangman versus Kenny for Dawn.
Yeah, but now I don't know. With Hangman part of the kind of doing this thing with the Dark Order. You don't know where this is going to go. So, I mean, it can go anywhere now on Wednesday night, and we don't know what the darn card is going to look like. And that's what AEW is great at doing. That's what it's great at doing. We don't know what the card is going to look like. The whole scene of AEW could be different by the time Dawn happens.
Maybe the world gets back to normal where they can tour arenas again. I'm not getting my fingers crossed for the April 27th show in Boston. I think it will get moved like the New Jersey show got moved to September. I think September and October is more likely for us.
Oh, yeah, probably. I mean, they will get it, but we will get it, and we'll get back there, and they will get back to normal, too. And when they do, I think things will change even more. There'll be even more surprises in stock. So, you just got to kind of watch it. Kind of just take last night at what it was. Laugh about it. Yeah. Write it off. Move along.
So, which, unfortunately, I don't blame AEW for the botch. I'm not upset like a lot of people were. But unfortunately, I might have given it another 5-star match to end the night. But I think it had to be a 4.5 match.
Yeah, definitely 4.5. The ending kind of cut that, but
they tore their asses.
The wrestling alone, though, is 5-star. I'd give it that if they just ended it that way. I don't even know if it was necessary that the bomb did explode. The only thing it did, the only point of it was to make Eddie Kingston face. Then I guess it worked. It just didn't work the way they wanted it to.
Because they want everyone to have sympathy for Moxley,
and sympathy for Eddie, but
and to build,
I don't really know the way it happened, if anybody looked like they were in danger and anybody had sympathy for anybody.
So let's do a grade of 10. Out of 1 through 10, what would you grade this pay-per-view? I'd say I'd give it 8.2.
Yep, I'm giving this a solid 8.
The wrestling was great. You can't take away what the men and women did to entertain us for tonight.
No, the storylines could have been built a little bit better, especially in the women's division.
And there could have been more of a promo segment for the surprise reveal of Christian.
Yep, there could have been that too. Big Show could have came out and announced him, and it could have been a little bit more of a scene there. And then
I think it would have been
a botch. Shouldn't have happened.
Obviously, we all know the botch heard around the world. But I think I like the match order for the most part, except I really wish they switched the Matt Hardy Hangman match with the Young Bucks Inner Circle match, as I think it would have wakened the crowd more up during the 4th or 5th spot of the card.
Oh, for sure.
And Hangman and Matt Hardy wasn't a big feud. It was more of like a comedy. It would have been more of a good feud to open the show.
Oh, for sure. And, that's just going to about bring us to about out of time for this podcast. But this has been our AEW recap. Part 1 was earlier on. Part 2 is right here.
This was Disabled Wolf's debut.
Exactly. We have the Disabled Wolf's debut. We are going to be hearing from him again very soon. We're going to be having more podcasts, more frequent, more things to cover. Indie wrestling is back. We're going to have more of that. Pop culture, like he said, sports, you name it, we'll have it. Thank you all for tuning in tonight.
And as Kenny Omega says, goodbye, mwah, and good night.
Sachi out.